Hey everyone, welcome back to BDG Reviews, night 17 of the 31 Days of Horror. Like I told you before, today I went and saw Nightmare on Elm Street, the original 1984 classic on the big screen for the first time. So, first things first, a bit of my history with Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street was, I think, the first real horror movie I ever actually saw. I got it on VHS back when I was a kid, and never looked back. I've seen it on multiple VHS releases. I've seen it on multiple DVD releases, and I've seen it on Blu-ray. I know this is a movie I know inside and out. I don't need. Nothing's going to come as a real shock to me with this movie. But one thing I did notice when I was watching it in the theater was how well the effects hold up. 98% of the effects in the entire movie look phenomenal on the big screen. And any little error sort of thing would be glaringly bright right there. There are only two scenes that don't look super great, and that's the ending with the mother being pulled through the door, obviously, because that was kind of a even back in the day, that was a bit of a crappy effect. And the fact that when his name Rob, the boyfriend of Tina, when he's getting the sheets wrapped around his neck or whatever, you can see the little bit of metal sticking out of the end. And that's the thing that's always been there, So I'm not going to shit on it too much about that. Was seeing this on the big screen like some giant revelation? No. It was just an enjoyable film that I've loved for years, and getting to see it on the big screen was a great experience. This isn't like TCM where, all of a sudden you see it on the big screen and I notice things differently or something. No, it's Nightmare on Elm Street, same as it's always been, and there's nothing wrong with that. One thing, though, that I was really happy about was the ability to see a Nightmare movie in the theater. I saw the remake twice in the theater. I've said before, I actually like the remake. Is it a perfect movie? Hell to the no. Is it anywhere near the original? No. But, it for what it is, it's fine. I don't have an issue with it like a lot of people seem to. I saw that in the theater twice, and I saw Freddy vs. Jason, I think, twice as well in the theater. And those were the only Nightmare on Elm Street type movies I ever saw in the theater. And I would have liked to have seen more. I would have liked to have seen, part 4 for sure. I would have loved to have seen in the theater. Part 3. Honestly, even part 2. Part 2 is an interesting entry in the pantheon of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And it's actually one, weirdly enough, that I find as I get older, I go back to and watch again more regularly, which is kind of weird, because, I don't know. Interesting little bit of trivia. In the years that I've aged, I've started to have a real fondness for the oddities in a series. So, Halloween 3, I love Halloween 3. Friday the 13th Part 5, I love it. Nightmare 2, it's just fun. I dig it. But there's something about the original Nightmare, though. Before Freddy became funny, before he became, like a celebrity, back when he was scary. Just something about that. And Robert Englund's performance, honestly, it's one of those performances I feel that people remember him for playing Freddy, obviously. But I also have this feeling that they remember him more for, like, part 3 and, part 4 and, like, the later ones than they do really for the first movie. And it's a shame, really, because it's a really solid performance. And I mean, I think a lot of the times you forget that. You forget how, creepy he made Freddy. Before the jokes, before before all the, before the MTV Freddy, when he was literally like just like a child murderer who was burned. It's creepy. Always has been. Also, the effects on Freddy, like his burn makeup and everything in part 1, I always find them interesting because a lot of the shots of him, like, you really don't see the makeup very well. You see it's in like a lot of shadow and everything. Later movies obviously changed that up. By the time part 4 came around, you were seeing him full light of day, seeing every little like line in the makeup and everything. But there's something about keeping him in the shadows and keeping him, just sort of there, but like you don't really know. There's something about that which I've always thought worked. What it also does, though, is if you hadn't had any movies after Friday the 13th Part 1, what am I talking about? Friday the 13th? A complete brain fart. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1. If you hadn't had any of the sequels, you could easily have made a modern day sequel and you wouldn't have had the backlash that you had, because I've always said when it comes to Freddy Krueger, something I always thought would be interesting was if you were to do a movie where essentially every character would see Freddy differently. They'd all have the same basic things. He's burned, he has the sweater, he's got the hat, got the razor glove, but everyone would see him slightly different. So some would see him and it would be Robert Englund's Freddy. Some would see him, it would be like Jackie Earle Haley's Freddy. Some would see him, it would be frickin' Kevin Bacon's Freddy. It could work if you made it a plot line. Like that, you see what you're expecting to see with Freddy Krueger. It wouldn't be a fact of everyone sees the same thing. They'd see a burned man with claws and a striped sweater and a hat, but everyone would look slightly different. I think that would be a cool concept. And it would be a way that you could move away from Robert Englund playing Freddy without like retconning what's already there. So yeah. For a rating, Nightmare on Elm Street is an S-class film. Despite its few little flaws with with some questionable effects in 2 scenes, it's a solid film. Always has been, always will be. There's a reason that this has gotten, like, like this new 4K edition that's come out that's apparently selling really well. There's a reason that Freddy has become the icon that he has. Just saying. So yeah, S-class film. You can't go wrong with it. So yeah, that's it for me. See you tomorrow.